Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. They say for a fulfilled life, to feel everything you want to, joy, have abundance, great relationships, everything, it comes down to three elements: body, mind, and spirit. Now, the mind part, okay, there's therapy for that to help you navigate coaching, all of that. The body, obviously, we need to take care of ourselves physically in terms of our health, eat the right food, exercise, get the proper amount of sleep. And then there's spirit. What is spirit? A lot of people connect it to religion. It's not necessarily what we're talking about. Spiritualism and how it can support you in a major way. We're going to dig into that today. She is somebody that helps open our eyes to many of these different principles as an amazing psychologist. She's a great author, so many great books. I've learned so much from her, having her here on the show. Ann Creekmore joins us once again. How is everything in your world today?
Super. How about yours, Steve?
Real good, real good. And I gotta really be honest, I always am. I finally figured out the spiritualism aspect of life, or at least I'm on that road.
Great.
And have a new sense of awareness. This is in the last few years. New sense of awareness, understanding why things happen around us, how all the pieces fall together in the puzzle. That's, my basic description. But for you, being spiritualistic or spiritualism, what does it mean?
Well, I mean, I would love to hear I was fascinated to hear what you discovered first, what you were saying.
You are such a psychologist. Yeah, always throwing it over to the other person.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That kind of very interesting what you discovered.
As long as I don't have to give you a copay, for that. For me, it would be connecting with yourself, really being in touch with yourself, who you are, what you stand for, your standards, your values, believing in something that's bigger than you. That can be anything you want it to be. Many people connected with God or a God, and that's fine if that's you. But it doesn't have to be. Some people say, the universe supports me. What's the universe? That's your interpretation. My friend Trish, whenever I say that word, she goes, well, who do you think created the universe? I'm like, all right, time for a debate. And I'm not debating anything, but I get where she's going with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the belief that the belief is something bigger than you, I believe, can also be your faith. And that doesn't mean religion necessarily. Side note, I'm not deflecting from religion. I'm just saying that many people connect it there, and then sometimes it scares people away. Like, I don't do it. I'm not into religion. I believe in something. I believe in a God, but I don't go to church or anything like that. That's kind of my feeling when we use that word spiritualism. Now it's your turn.
Okay. Well, I like that. So your spirituality is like getting in touch with your authentic your sacred space within you. For anybody, at that place of, love and inner peace, where that you just can go to that space and feel connected to something beyond yourself. And it's just a place of peace within. I guess in psychology, we might be calling it mindfulness now. Some religions might call it get to your meditation, to that sacred space. Religions, like you said, would have that connectedness to God, or however they call God, whatever language and culture it is, but that the force of love and peace that kind of connects us all, transcends us all.
I get where you're going, and I've experienced it in a newfound peace. Yes, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that the peace aspect is a benefit of it. It's not part of it. It's a benefit that comes from connecting oneself and all of the things that we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you tell me more about that? Don't mean to be a psychologist here.
Um, when you have figured yourself out, you know a little bit who you are, what you stand for, and all of the things that we're believing in something bigger than you. That what comes from that part of it is that peace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a byproduct, something a little bonus that comes along with being spiritual. But spiritual also is you feel connected with things around you. You understand why things happen a certain way. You have a new sense of strength in yourself. And again, all of that
Mm-hmm.
trickles down to some some wonderful peace, along with other things.
Right, right. I see. I understand. Yes, that you connect to sort of a sense of the authentic you and who you are, and that you're good, right, and that you
Hmm.
deserve good, and that you're connected to good, and that brings you a sense of peace from that as
Right,
well. Hmm.
right. It's. I don't think it is it, but it's a part of it.
Right.
What comes from it. Um, what are some of the things that we can do to be more spiritual, more connected with ourselves, or does it simply begin by taking those steps to love oneself? They always say you got to love yourself before you can love others, and love is the highest vibration. How do we get spiritual?
Well, that's a good question. I think we have to explore that, find out what is our philosophy, what gives us inspiration or a sense of faith, sense of purpose in life. There's, maybe, I mean, could be your religion that you grew up with, and, maybe going back and looking at that. And if that doesn't work for you, then to look at something else, what's fulfills you or makes you get that sense of purpose and faith that there's good in life, that you're good, that there's meaning.
Mm,
You've got to kind of start to be open to that, just open to having your own inner sacred space in some way. What motivates that, if you will, or what facilitates that for you, and find and just explore that. Take time, every day. It can just be even just following your breath, meditation. Because in a sense, when you do that, you're kind of going to that stillness, that other type of peace, right? When you just kind of be following your breath, just breathe in good, breathe out cares, and just be in that prana, is, I guess, some religions would call
mm.
that. You're at that inner still peace, and just kind of let the thoughts flow through and release them, and just try to get to that level of peace.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
That word prana, interesting, because I heard that word used a couple of years ago for somebody does pranic healing.
Oh,
I never even knew what that word prana means. Can you
yeah.
define it? I don't know.
I mean, I think it's. I mean, I think it just relates to your breath of life within you. Your prana, your energy, your breath, your, I would call it your sacred space within. It's invisible, but then of course our mind, body, spirit, the mind, and what's going on in our mind is invisible. Love is invisible. Our sacred space, or our breath of life, our prana, is kind of that invisible force.
Mm.
Yeah, connecting all.
Was
Yeah.
there a moment where you realized, well, okay, even before I ask the question, are you spiritual?
Yes, I definitely am spiritual. Yes.
Okay. Was there a moment where you realized, or do you recall a moment where you said to yourself, "Oh, I'm embracing the spiritualism thing."
um, I mean, I would say when I was very little, I mean, I was raised a Catholic. And, we had our little catechisms, and we read in it, and it says God, God is love. Okay. God is in everyone and everything. So I thought, yeah, that sounds exactly right. And I would call that my beginning of
Yeah.
spirituality. But however you want to, call God. I mean, God is love. When I say love, love, this good inner that causes peace among us, and is a thread with it and everything. And so I say that's when it started for me, and it hasn't changed.
Wow. I believe I always had some parts of spiritualism, but never really got. Basically, my plane was on the runway, but it never took off.
Hmm.
I believe in energy back in the day. Now I have a real belief, real understanding of it. Um, Intuitiveness, psychics. I was involved and still am in marketing a lot of these people in these metaphysical fields, but I never really, jumped deep into it until the last, 4 or 5 years. And I'm going to illustrate your point because when I asked you that question, when you had that moment where you realize, yeah, I'm spiritual. I
Mhm.
believe it came for me 3 years ago.
Hmm.
I walked out of this building and I looked up at the sun and I just had this feeling of what I describe as quiet calm.
Exactly.
There's a lot going on, a lot of stress, a lot of life-changing stuff going on. And instead of flipping out, it was more of a, "Ah, wow, it'll be all right. It'll be okay." And I looked up at the sun. I could tell you the angle. I remember it clearly.
Nice.
But why was I feeling that? Because I believe I finally my spiritual plane took off
Yeah,
and I was believing or understanding a lot of different things. What are those things? My belief is that whatever you need, you have it. It's in you. It's
absolutely. Absolutely.
all there.
We're
Um,
lilies of the field, as they would say in the Bible, and that we neither toil, we have what we are provided for.
we
As long
are
as we can see that and move into the good, with it, we're not blocking it with our thoughts, our negative thoughts.
we are amazing, but we don't
Yes,
realize it. And more
absolutely.
so because we come from a mentality of not being good enough. And most of us have that feeling from our childhood and different
Well,
situations that present. But
sure.
my first mantra, and I have a few of them that I pilot by, but the
Mhm.
first one was all I need is within me now.
Absolutely. Right. Just connect to the inner good.
Yes.
Yes.
And there you go. That's the connection with oneself
Yes.
where the spirituality magic takes place. What does that mean? All I need is within me now. My interpretation of that is every answer you need, you know it. You already have the
Yes.
answer.
That
It's
divine knowledge, if you will, or sacred knowledge or transcendent knowledge.
You're
Hmm.
trying to make a choice. What car should I buy? Car A or B? Should I take job A or B? Should I end this relationship? Should I do? You have the answer.
Absolutely. Go within.
Yes, easier said than done though. That's the biggest challenge because the head gets in the way. Sometimes the heart knows the answer, but it gets confused because there's so many things going out there. Then logic comes into play. Your intuition gets sidetracked because of things in the
Yeah,
way. But you got it. You
absolutely. And that's why a lot of times it's advocated to meditate or just, follow your breath, be with your breath, breathe in the good, breathe out the cares, and just be present with your breathing. Be still. Let those thoughts go through and just release them and just kind of see what comes, and your still inner voice.
mm,
Let that guide you. Just
yeah,
and
yeah. It's kind of amazing and feels fantastic when you put faith in yourself. Yes, you can put it into God, sure, universe, whatever, however you want to phrase it. But when you have that, and I heard it last night, and it's a cliche, but a friend said it in his situation. Trust the process. Trust the process.
exactly.
Gotta
Exactly.
have trust.
If you trust, that's a very good, that is a very good point. The trust, that faith that the good will transpire. You got to be at that level of trust for it to flow. Because even something, bad by appearance may just come along to help you. As I say, the universe hits you with the 2x4 board, to get you to go in the right direction, because you're kind of stuck in your own. And then something comes along, it looks bad by appearance, but it's actually moving you into your good. And if you can just be of trust and say, well, let me breathe into this and see what's going, where am I supposed to go? This isn't, I'm at my good at all times. And this is leading me into my good, even though by outward appearance, it doesn't appear that way right now. But how can it be? Be of trust, like you said, faith.
Well, when you get hit by that 2x4, it's horrible. It hurts. Ow. It just spun me around. I fell down on the ground. You have a choice, though. You can get up and you can start walking forward and have that trust that things are going to change around and be better. And those who have been there will tell you straight up that it does get better because they believed it would.
Absolutely. It's your thoughts creating, because your thoughts will create how you feel, and how you feel will determine how you start to behave. If you think something bad's happening, you're going to behave in ways that bring negativity to you. Whereas if you're trust and thinking, well, this is good, it's going to motivate you to perform your best, or see the best, or look for the best. And all that's going to lead to a good outcome.
Many of us have an addiction that we don't even know exists. And it's not a substance. It's not some of the things that you would traditionally think. And we're addicted to misery.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the 2x4 that hits you. And then you stay there instead of getting up, dusting yourself off and moving forward. Not easy. I got it. Not easy. But why not try it? And then try it again, and then try it again. And you probably will realize that this, when life deals you those lemons, wow, it's not that bad. I'm going to see if I can make a little lemonade out of that. It's going to be okay.
Exactly. Instead of staying stuck at the anger, go a little below. It's probably sad or disappointment. Get the feelings out, cry a little bit if or just feel it and let it go. And then see, wait a minute, go within and say, what is my good here? And how can I move into my good? And then just, start to rebuild from there, instead of staying stuck, right? Like you said, at the negative thinking, the misery, and creating more misery way beyond what happened. If you keep thinking about it negatively and making yourself feel bad about it, you're just creating your misery. It's over. Move in, let it out. It was sad, but then just get back to, hey, there's some good coming to me here. I'm good, and my life is good. There's thread of good here, and I want to move into that.
Well, we've said it before that everything is a habit, good or bad habits. And it's a moving target in terms of how long it takes to create the habit. Some take 21 days, some 3 months, some 6 months, whatever that number is. But it's so easy to get into a habit of being negative, and it's to the point where it becomes like your life, and you don't realize it, that you look at everything through a negative lens.
Absolutely. I mean, we're negative thinkers, and it's a life challenge for us to really realize that and then work on that. And that's what cognitive behavioral therapy is in a nutshell. Cognitive meaning your thoughts therapy. Change your thoughts, change your behavior, and changing your life. It's the most effective form of therapy, psychotherapy, as really spirituality. If you think about it, it's kind of getting you to be of that positive mind, and to change have those affirmations, change those thoughts, those negative thoughts, stop them, putting in the positive to create your good, and being spiritual, really, in a sense, an underlying law to the cognitive behavioral therapy.
Oh, yeah, I get what so many people can say, like, okay, glasses half full, half empty. Oh, I get it. Be positive. I did. I said that. I used to say that. Yeah, yeah. Look at me, put the rose-colored glasses on. Everything's gonna be wonderful. But is it
Yeah.
really? But here's the deal: when you create a habit to look at things in a more positive way, and you
Mhm.
can. Don't lie to yourself. You can.
Right.
Yeah, there's situations that come up, and they're sometimes really bad. But if you can flip it and find some positive, and then the next one, and then the next one, you don't even know you're doing it. You just
Right.
automatically you're in a different place. Like it's almost like you've been transported to a different planet where it's planet positivity, where it's
Absolutely. It's like that, analogy where it's like a glass of muddy water and you take a picture of clear water, clear thoughts, or thoughts are the negative muddy, but you take your nice clear water, you start pouring it in, and the mud starts flowing out and flowing out. And eventually it's all clear. You got a glass of clear, pure water. And that's your mind because you worked on it and you kept pouring the good in and letting all that negativity. And then as you're at this better place.
hmm.
Right.
It's like we're poisoned by negativity,
Exactly.
but it's not really our own fault. We're wired to be negative.
That's right.
Mhm.
They used to call it original sin, right? In the Bible, Adam and Eve go and pull from the tree of knowledge and good and evil, right? It's not the tree of knowledge. It's, in the Bible, it's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Don't go there. You don't want to be thinking and being aware of the evil, the negative, which take it, you start thinking negative. And then now you've got yourself in a bad situation. You got original sin. You've got that ability to think negatively now, and it's not good.
Right,
You
right.
want to just say, let that go. Let's be a bliss.
Do you feel that many of us think negatively because it's maybe part of evolution that it's there to protect us? It goes back to, the beginning of time, cave people time, where you're always on guard. We're always thinking,
Yeah.
just as a protection thing. I'm not gonna. The pterodactyl is up in the sky, and you're not gonna say, "Well, look at that nice looking bird." No, you're being
Uh,
like, "Oh, well, I gotta get out of here quick." Um, do you think it's been put in us in many regards as a
yeah.
protection?
I mean, I do. I think that we do have that ability for sure. That's just kind of built in us, and that we do have to. I mean, it's one thing. Anxiety is not a bad thing in a sense because it's kind of alerts us to take care of some problem if we use it that way. If we take a negative feeling and we use it in a way to get to deeper what will make us feel better, and we actually act on that and do something to make our lives better, it's not a bad thing. It's kind of helping us to survive or in our lives, like you're saying. But it's when we stay with it and we don't do anything about the anxiety and we just start, pondering it, obsessing over it and making it worse. But it's kind of can give, but it can be good. I mean, it's like one thing, like you're saying, like, oh, well, we got to watch out for predators. In fact, sleep until the Industrial Revolution used to be first sleep and then the watch when the cavemen would wake up and be looking for predators and making sure things are good. And then they'd have second sleep for another 4 hours. And it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution we got electricity so that people could stay awake later, that people didn't fall asleep like at dusk, when it's dark and they're tired and they just go to bed for at that point for first sleep for several hours or 4 hours, and they wake up for that watch, which probably started with the cavemen being on watch, to make sure things are still safe, and then go back to sleep for second sleep.
Wow, I never even that
Yeah,
never knew that.
yeah, yeah. That's right. We haven't always been the straight 8 hour sleepers that we can be now that we have electricity and lights. We push ourselves, not go to bed early, get done what we need to, get ready kind of for the next day, maybe socialize a little. No, up until Industrial Revolution, they had the waking up probably was a good idea. We're sleeping a while, but let's check and make sure everything's okay. To watch and socialize a little and take our remedies we're too tired to take, and then go back to sleep for second sleep. That was the pattern.
Wow,
Mhm.
maybe that's why some countries still do a siesta. I don't know. Maybe it's left over.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah, good for energy, keeping your energy up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, look at, our culture, in America, we're just keep going,
Right.
run.
Coffee achievers.
Yes.
Mhm.
Um, Wonderful talking with you today. You have fantastic books. Love yourself, love your life.
Thank
Uh, so many great insightful sections in this book. And you can find out more about that. And you helping people on a psychological level where you can do that anywhere virtually. I'm trying to remember, is it Psychology Today, the website to find you?
Yeah, that is a directory where you can just find my name and it will go take you just can click under it. It's a psychologist directory. And then you can just click it so you can go into my website. And I'm going to be having another website up as well because I'm going to be doing life coaching as well as, my full regular psychotherapy practice. So we can work on the kinds of things you're talking about today with just in my life coaching practice.
It all comes together. All comes
Yeah.
together. And I'm glad we're together today. Looking forward next time we talk, Ann. Thank you so much.
Me too, Steve. Thank you so much for
Be
everything.
well. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.